Hey guys, I'm back out here. It's a little bit late, so I'm going to try to keep it short. My apologies for the bugs and the martial arts moves to get rid of them. Anyway, last time we talked, we said there were clues to the fact that consciousness, focused intention, can change physical events. It can change people's behavior, can ultimately change world situations, and it can change the energetic atmosphere of the planet. What are the 5 clues? We're just going to keep this short. Look at the first one. And on our list, the first one that I have down is called HoOponopono. You're probably familiar with it. It's a Hawaiian traditional, I guess you could call it a healing technique in the broad sense. It consists of 4 phrases. And as I heard it, and Dr. Hulen talks about it, the 4 phrases are: I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, and thank you. I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, and thank you. What's that about? Well, there's a story that I can't confirm it's true, but there are other instances that I can confirm where HoOponopono is effective. The story is this man, Dr. Hulen. His first name is a Hawaiian name. I think it's something like Haleakala, if I got that right. And his last name is hyphenated, Hulen. He's a psychologist. He's in Hawaii, a mental hospital, and I don't know if it was Hawaii State Hospital or some other. They were having a problem with violent patients attacking the staff and causing all kinds of trouble. And they asked him if he would help, and he said he would. This is the way the story goes. And he didn't need to see the patients. He just needed an office outside the main area and the files of the patients and their pictures. And he focused on them over a period of time, and the problems went away. That's the story. I can't personally confirm that it's true. And there's another prominent HoOponopono practitioner. I think his name is Antonio Santos, and he said he found out, well, he couldn't find any evidence that it was true, and he called all these hospitals. So I don't know if Antonio's right or not. He might be. But in the story, there was an effect from this internal practice that Dr. Hulen was doing. And I've talked to other people, and I've witnessed other people use HoOponopono in their own situations and have remarkable, near miraculous results. So HoOponopono is real. Whether the hospital story happened, I don't know. But basically the idea is that these phrases that you say, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, and thank you, they have deep meaning behind them. And as we've said before in other videos and in Planetary Healing Club meetings, there's no such thing as real magic words. There are not words that can curse you or bless you by themselves. But words carry energy. And the energy that's put into the words by the person thinking them or speaking them, then the words carry that to the recipient. So blessing and cursing people is real. And you can really do it. And in fact, it's one of those things, one of those things that you're doing all the time. Most of us are doing it unconsciously, and you need to make it conscious. Blessing or cursing people, thinking good or bad about people with emotion, and projecting emotional energy, which has a frequency. People are aware at this point, a lot of us, that cell towers put out invisible frequencies that are real. And many people have found out that they're harmful, especially 5G, but the other ones too. And you can't see them, smell them, taste them, touch them, but they have powerful effects and they damage life. Well, there are other frequencies that are very fine but very powerful, and they come out of humans. Every living being projects frequency, but the humans mostly are projecting them at random, scattered, unconscious, without even being aware of it. If they become focused and the emotion behind them is clear, they take on great power. HoOponopono is one instance of how that happens. So we had one lady early in the Planetary Healing Club, which started its beta phase in 2018. And she used HoOponopono and then came back to the group. We have live meetings every week, and shared what happened. She lived in the Sierra Mountains in California, foothills of the Sierras. And she had an organic garden and some goats and a very small mini homestead, you might say. And her next door neighbor was a man that was, to her, very intimidating. She couldn't talk to him. He was very scary to her. I don't know why I never met him. And he used to spray clouds of Roundup in his yard, and it would come over the fence and go into the organic garden and make a mess. Make the food poisonous, for one thing. So she started doing HoOponopono with him, saying in her mind, "I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, and thank you." And the bottom line is, after a short time, I don't know how many days, but a relatively short time, he got rid of the Roundup, stopped spraying, got a weed eater, and never sprayed again. And they never spoke. And there are many other stories like that that are verifiable. So why does that have any effect? That's an example of focused consciousness affecting a mundane physical action. The guy stopped spraying. Why and how? This is really significant, because if this is true and it can be scaled up and used by you, there's all kinds of applications that are important, not just in your own personal life to bring harmony back to it, but in the world situation where our insane rulers, following orders from demonic higher bosses, are pushing the world toward nuclear war and a lot of other bad things too. Needs to be stopped, and the ability to do it physically is limited. The ability to even try it physically is less likely if the consciousness is not there. So how do you wake up humanity fast enough, like the guy who stopped spraying Roundup, to change the world events in time to avoid disaster? Hold on, there's an airplane here. So how does that happen? The radiation that comes out of you, the frequency that comes out of you, is a combination of your emotional focus and the vitality that's behind it, and the stillness and focus that you can put into that thought, into that intent. So what is the intent in HoOponopono that the words represent? Because it doesn't originate with the words. The words make the suggestion, and then the person doing it has to actually focus the feeling, or nothing happens. Okay, so first of all you say, "I'm sorry." What? You're sorry when somebody else is doing something bad? Why would that be? That makes no sense. Well, the reason is because in HoOponopono, the first rule is that the person doing it takes full responsibility, not blame, full responsibility for everything in his or her environment, in his or her life. So the lady who I was talking about, who stopped the spraying, she was seeing this guy next door spraying clouds of Roundup, right? And most people would say, well, it's the guy's fault, it's not the lady's fault. And she said, no, it's my projection. This is what I'm experiencing in my life on a deep level that they talk about in quantum physics. She's actually causing the behavior and the experience that she's witnessing. So she says, I'm sorry for that. In other words, I didn't know. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I didn't mean to start this event that turned into something negative. I'm sorry. I love you means I recognize that the same spirit that's in me is in you. It's kind of like in scripture it says, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, you can't honestly do that until you realize that that same self that's in you is in anybody else, including the people whose programming has made them act in the worst ways. So she was saying, I love you, meaning I'm not romantically in love with you. You're spraying poison all over the yard. I don't think that's so great. But the spirit in you, the real self that's in you, is the same one that's in me. And the nature of that is unconditional, limitless love. This doesn't work without realizing that. So that there you have, I'm sorry, because this is my projection. I love you because you're the same spirit internally as I am. Please forgive me. Now that's really important to know what you mean behind please forgive me. It's not that I'm to blame. Blame doesn't come into it. Unlimited love has no blame, just responsibility. Please forgive me means there are consequences to every action. And if this action is my projection that caused the spraying, please forgive me. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was doing that. Drop the repercussions. Drop the karmic implications. Drop it all. That's forgiveness. And then thank you. The frequency of gratitude is very powerful and healing. So it's, I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. If you just say those things with no feeling, you're wasting your time. If you say them like Dr. Hulen learned to do, where you mean it and you know what it means, you know why you're saying I'm sorry. You know why you're saying I love you to somebody who's not very externally lovable. You know what you mean by your saying, please forgive me. You don't mean that you're bad. It's just you're acknowledging you didn't know. You didn't consciously take the role of causing trouble intentionally. And thank you. Gratitude for the change to harmonize the whole event. That's called HoOponopono. Now the limitations of that are mainly results of misunderstanding and not feeling what you're saying. So when you say, please forgive me, if you have the feeling, if you're projecting the feeling, I'm bad, I need forgiveness because I was really bad, that ruins the whole thing. If you're bad, then that justifies bad results. You're not bad. You never were. Nobody ever was internally. They just fall into programming. And anybody that falls into a certain program and believes it starts acting accordingly. And this is where the appearance of what we call evil comes from. Take away the programs that are controlling people's experience and the behavior goes away. So if this is understood correctly, HoOponopono, and not as a self-blame exercise, then the results can be totally amazing. And this has happened, not just with the lady stopping the spraying experience, but many others that I've seen. So this is clue number one, that consciousness can affect physical events, the emotions of other people, the actions of other people, and it can change your experience of what we call reality. There are 4 other clues that we'll go into, but I don't want to take more of your time right now. The point is, you have great power to access, not your own ego, but you're connected to Spirit, to God. This is not just an idea, it's not just a belief. It wasn't invented by a religion. It existed before creation, and it's outside of time and in all of time. And if you can get your conscious connection back to it, we have a tool with unlimited power to help heal the world. That's the point. That's the reason for taking the time to share this stuff. Not just entertainment or interest. It's to use it to really learn, really understand what it means, and to reconnect consciously to spirit, to our origin, to God. Not as a belief, that doesn't do it. You've got to do it as a real experience. And there are ways that that can be done. So this is what we're going to work on in Planetary Healing Club. But you can do it anytime, and I encourage you to do that. Learn these things. Learn to apply them, not from your ego, but getting out of the way, open and relaxed, and with clear intent that it flows through you for harmonizing and healing whatever situation you're looking at. There's no reason you can't do that. You don't need credentials. Your credential is that you're spirit. You're not the costume, you're not the body, you're in it for a short time. You're connected to where you came from. You always were. It's just these mind programs told you were a limited, helpless being. That was never true. These 5 clues point to ways that you can get back the experience of who you are. And from there, we can heal our lives and the world. But will we do it soon enough? Our rulers hope not. This is what they're afraid of. This little quiet, technique-based focus. Not just HoOponopono, but the others and what's behind them. This is their biggest fear, and yet there's no reason for them to be afraid of it, because this can heal even them. And you're the one who could do it. Can you put in the attention? Can you get out of the way? Can you let it flow through you, clearly intending what you want? Not from your own self, but from the reality that people call God, that can come right through you, that you're connected to all the time. Make it conscious. This is why we started Planetary Healing Club. So if you want to be part of that group effort, we're ending beta now. We're looking for people in every part of the world that are brave enough, calm enough, and focused enough with a good intent to be willing to put in the work on their own focus and not take on a new belief, but experience something different. That's what it's about. So if you're in Africa, North America, South America, Asia, any part of Russia, China, Japan, Korea, Africa. If you live in Antarctica, that's great. I don't know if that's allowed, but if you do, great. We're looking for you. Join us. This is going to be practical. We get together once a week, focus on what we need to do, and then spend the week practicing. It doesn't take away anything from your other work. You can do it while you're doing anything else. And in fact, that's the point. It's like prayer or meditation. You don't do it just for 10 minutes and then go crazy the rest of the time. You make that your default focus. You know, I think it was St. Augustine who said, you should pray without ceasing, like 24 hours a day. And people think you have to get out some favorite prayer or other and have a piece of paper and read it over and over and over and give up the rest of your life. That's not really what it means on a deeper level. It means you are praying all the time. Now, it's what you're focused on, but most of us are praying about our worries, not take them away. We're worried that some bad thing may happen, or some bad thing did happen, or what if it does, or does somebody not like me, or what an idiot so-and-so is, and what a stupid thing they did. And these are the prayers that are really going on. And so the idea is just change from recognize you're carrying that background in the back of your mind now on an emotional level and be willing to change it. And that's what the clues are about, okay? It's not just some little factoid that may be interesting. This hides something big. What my interest is in taking the time to meet you in Planetary Healing Club and talk to you in these videos is I know what our rulers are doing. I know who they're following. I know who their bosses are. I've traced it all the way back. I've encountered some unpleasant people and other beings. I know where they're going with it, why they want to destroy life, where they intend to take it. I don't want to see that happen any more than it already has. So Planetary Healing Club was meant to be one of the antidotes, but it depends on you being willing to do the work. So I'm asking for those who can resonate with this, because most people won't know what we're talking about here. If you can feel into it, relate to it on a deeper level, and if you care about what we're saying here and want to join the effort, meet us at planetaryhealingclub.com. That's an access point. If you have questions about it, you're free to email me if you want to, richard@lostartsradio.com. And I read all of those, and I'll try to put the answer into a video if I can't answer in email. But it's time to do this. Beta's over. Our rulers are intending to kill us all. If you think that's crazy, you haven't paid attention. It is crazy, but it's really happening. So, I guess that's about it. It's getting dark and I got to hike down the mountain. But the first clue of the 5 is HoOponopono, and it's real. Most of the practitioners haven't taken it very far, and it could go much, much deeper. It has the potential to change the world, not just little events in a person's life. I want you to be the one who does it. So work with us. PlanetaryHealingClub.com. I'm Dr. Richard Sachs. And not only did I approve this message, but I really care what happens to you and to all of us. Let's turn it around. Okay, I'll tell you clue number 2 when we come back.